Hi, this is Greg Tavares, and this is Creative Coding with vertexshaderart and GLSL. This is lesson 2. If you haven't seen the first lesson, you might want to try that out. You can click the link here. Otherwise, this lesson continues at the end of lesson 1. If you saved your work before, you can bring it up now. Otherwise, you can click the link here to go to a version that's already set up at the end of that last lesson. This lesson is about motion, so let's get started. So the first thing, starting off where we left off, is let's click Help. And you see that there is an input called time, which is the time in seconds. It's the time since you opened this page. You can reset it back to 0 by clicking this button here. Not that it matters, but in the simplest case, let's just add that in somewhere. So let's go here, let's say float x off for x offset is the sign of the time. Haha, sign of the times, get it? And let's add that to the end of this. Just add x off. Now you'll see this is moving. If you're familiar with the sine function, it goes from -1 to +1 in a loop. And so you can see that this whole grid is moving 1 unit, well, 2 units total, but plus or minus 1. You can see it's kind of static, moving all together. How can we adjust that? Well, what if we added in y? Right? Now, it's time plus y, and since every row is got a different y value, we're getting something a little more interesting. Maybe that's a little too harsh. Let's try 0.1. There we go. We got something kind of interesting. Let's try 0.2. I like that a little better. But of course, it's adjusting by a whole unit, plus or minus 1. What if we made it plus or minus 0.1? That's kind of interesting. Let's try doing the same for y. So let's go y off is sine time times, let's use plus x times 0.2 is 0.1. And we'll add that one in. Now we're getting something a little more funky. Now these two match right now, right? They're both times 2 times 0.2 plus 0.1. Let's change this to 0.3 and this to 0.2. And now we get something a little more random. Now one thing you notice here is, right, we see these edges because our grid just basically fit perfectly on the screen before. And when things get offset onto the screen, then we see where the edge of the grid is. So let's solve that problem. I'm going to solve it by I'm going to take these values, ux and uv, which pick the position of each point, and I'm going to put them in something called a vec2. I'm going to call this xy. And so we'll put ux here and vy in that, and then we'll just use that directly. Now why do I want to do that? Because it lets me multiply that by a value. So I'm going to multiply that by 1.3. You can see what this value does is it takes our grid and it makes it smaller. Like if I multiply by 0.5 or 0.7, right, 0.9, 1 point, multiplying by 1 would make it what it was. We're going to make it 1.2. You can still see the edges, 1.3. Yeah, I think most of the edges are off the screen. So that's one example of motion. Let's also adjust the point size. So I'm going to come down here, I'm going to make a size off, or S off. And I don't know, let's do sine of time times 5. And then let's make this plus S off. Now you can see these values are getting bigger and smaller. They're 10 plus or minus 5, right? So that's going to be from 5 to 15. I'm going to actually bump this up a little bit so they get a little bit bigger. Let's try some other things. Let's say, like we did before, plus x. Now we're getting a little bit of a pattern because as they go across the screen, right, x is increasing, and that gives us kind of wave pattern. Let's go times y, and we'll get an even weirder pattern. That's kind of hard to see because I think it repeats too much. So let's multiply that by 0.1. Or how about 0.2? Now we kind of see a pattern going through there. And let's make this, yeah, that's about good. I think that's good. And so you kind of got an idea. Maybe we should try, I don't know, make this 15. You can really see it going. I liked 5 though. That's it. That's all I was going to do for motion. Let's stop there. You're welcome to change any values in here based on the motion or based on time, and that is how you get motion, or one way to get motion. Next up, we're going to do color. So check that out in the next video. If you want, you might want to save your work, and we'll see you in the next video.